So today I'm talking to Chris, a senior mining engineer, and I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Chris. I graduated from the UBC Mining Engineering Department in 2016. I also did the co-op program, so I spent 5 years doing my engineering degree. After which I moved to Northwestern Ontario to work sort of in the gold mining industry, Red Lake, Ontario. And since then, I've moved around a few different mines with the same company, and just sort of focused my career in the underground sort of hard rock gold mining industry.
Okay, cool. I guess you kind of touched on it then, but in those types of projects, what do you usually focus on and what's your role in those types of mining projects?
I've done a variety of different sort of engineering roles in different mines, but so the area I've probably focused on more than anything is in production and drill and blast. So starting off in industry, I did a lot of drill and blast designs for underground stoping. So that involved like designing the drill holes and then putting out the charge plans to essentially, blow up these stopes. And then sort of went more into a supervisory role, into what I'm now, which is sort of a senior production engineer. Spent a lot of time mentoring graduate mining engineers, and also putting a lot of time into the overall schedule.
Okay, cool. Cool. It's cool to see the career progression as you got more advanced in your field. About mining engineering, then, what would you say is the best thing about the industry?
It is what you make out of it, and it can be different for every individual. But one of the things that I really like is there is a huge variety of different roles. You can rotate between different jobs within a mine. You can work very close with the operations group, even working underground with the operations teams. So in that sense, you're not just handcuffed to a desk all day. You get to be really involved in the QA/QC aspects of a mining operation, as well as doing the design work. So in that sense, that's quite a bit of variety between operations and engineering. And for me, it's been one of the highlights of the industry.
Okay, cool. Then on the flip side of that coin, then, what would you say are one of the less enjoyable things about mining engineering?
So one of the things, so a couple of things with mining is either you're doing rotational work, such as a 2-week on, 2-week off schedule, or you're moving to a small mining town and working in a mine there. There's also work in the city with consultant companies, but for the most part, you're either going to be away from home for a long period when you're on rotational work, or you're going to be moving away from your home city or hometown for a while to work in a smaller community. So you need to be prepared for being away from home for a while, as well as sometimes the days can be quite long. There's often working 12-hour shifts when you're on rotational work, and those 12-hour days often turn into like 13 to 14-hour work days for sure. It's quite long, but I guess while you're working hard, and when you're off, you have as much time as you want to for your R&R.
Do you have any experience with like rotation work, like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off? Because I knew someone who was working at a diamond mine in Yellowknife, and they were 2 weeks in the city. It was a lot more relaxed, and then when they went to the mine, it was like you said, full time. You're really going, fly out to Yellowknife for 2 weeks, and then they fly back. So do you have any experience
Yeah,
with that?
yeah. My current job is essentially 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and my last couple positions were also kind of similar to that rotation. So I'm used to it. I've done it for the last 3 years. I actually really like it because you work hard while you're on the mine site, but then after your rotation, you have 2 weeks off to do whatever you want. Uh, if you want to go traveling or visit somewhere, you have a lot of opportunities to do that kind of stuff. Also, one of the things that people don't realize is you save a lot more money when you're on rotational work, because when you're on the mine site, you're not spending anything, uh, as opposed to, working a Monday to Friday job. The cost of living you're paying every day while you're living at home.
Yeah, that's, I guess saving money when you're not having to spend it really helps. Is it like more of a work camp environment when you're living at the mine, or what are the conditions kind of like?
Yeah, it's so like the camp facility itself, like I'll have my own room with my own sink, my own bed. I have a desk in there with like an Ethernet connection, if you want to use that. And then I share a toilet and a shower with one other person. So it's kind of like that Jack and Jill style of camp room, that you might see in a university residence, for example. But yeah, in the cafeteria, we have a catering company that makes all our food. Honestly, the food's awesome. I have no complaints. It's often better food than what I eat at home. So there's lots of different options with salad bars and sandwich station if you want to make a sandwich. And they have all sorts of different foods depending on if you have a certain dietary requirement.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard that they really have to make sure the food's good, otherwise a lot of people won't go. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the miners start to complain, and then yeah, you hear about it. Yeah.
So then since you've worked two roles, more like senior and then a little more junior types of mining engineering, what would you say an average day on site or when you're working would look like?
For me, I get up a bit earlier, so I'll wake up around 4:45 a.m. I go get breakfast around 5:15, and then at 5:45, I'm going to the underground miners lineout meeting, just to participate in that. Get back to my office. Also we have a tech services safety meeting at 6:45, and then a daily production meeting at 7:30. So there's 3 meetings early in the morning. In between all that, I'm normally just communicating with the geologists on any issues in the last 24 hours with our ore development headings, talking to geotech about any ground control issues, and I'm sort of lining out the planning engineers on their jobs for the day. And then throughout the day, sort of looking into sort of next things coming up, and as well as investigating sort of more of the long-term, midterm scope of work that our team needs to tackle. Among other things, heavily involved with the diamond drilling at the mine site, and how we're planning the drills, and various other meetings sort of pop up throughout the week. But if I do have time, really try to get an underground visit in as well, with underground foreman. So the days are pretty dynamic, but a lot of the day can be spent, just mentoring sort of the younger engineers. So generally, as you progress, you do less work and more supervision and management of people, I suppose.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot from other senior engineers. As you get older, it's more about guiding other people and making sure things are going the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
What is some advice then you'd advise to students considering mining engineering as a career?
Again, it is what you make of it. It's a great industry for if you're looking for a high competitive salary. It's right up there. That being said, be prepared to either be working away from home for a while, be prepared to potentially move to another either smaller town or outside of the city that you're used to. I would say it's not the career for someone who just wants to work in a city and be at a desk for their career. you got to be prepared to move and sort of explore new places, which also has a lot of positives with it as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Going into mining engineering, I'm sure you had some expectations of what the industry was going to be like. Did anything kind of surprise you once you started working in the industry and kind of subverted your expectations?
Um, in terms of surprise me, I mean, one thing that surprised me is just how complicated mining is, and how many low-hanging fruit there are. There's always room for improvement. It's not like things are set in stone. You can propose a new solution, and if it proves that it'll be more efficient or save money, often the teams will accept it. So in that sense, it's great in terms of just opportunity for improvement. Another thing that surprised me, that has been a huge learning for me throughout my career, is the type of people that work in mining are normally pretty rough, blue collar folks. And you really got to communicate with them in a certain way. You can't just be some fresh new engineer telling a miner with 40 years of mining experience how to do their job. You need to approach things differently with them and really respect the experience that they have themselves working in the industry.
Okay. You touched again on what it's like, how complicated mining engineering is. Would you be able to give an example of like things you have to consider or look into or do research into when you're trying to design like a blast hole or something like that?
So, for example, the mine I'm at, it's a bit of a labyrinth of tunnels everywhere, and there's ore veins going all over the place. Very often we'll find an ore vein that's very close to capital infrastructure, so like a main ramp going underground, and we'll want to extract as much of the ore as possible near this main ramp, and so it's near permanent infrastructure. So often we have to really dive into the geotechnical considerations, like what are the faults like in the ground, what are the ground conditions, how close can we get to this ramp, and what controls do we need to put in place when we actually do start mining close to this ramp. It's a pretty geotechnically complex operation in the sense that we often have a lot of wedge failures when structures meet and create a wedge. We might have a failure in an area, so we need to be very cognizant on all our designs to make sure we're not creating a potentially unsafe geotechnical situation.
It does sound pretty heavy, pretty complicated. One last question then before we wrap up the interview. What are some avenues you'd suggest that students look into to learn more about mining engineering?
To be very honest, it's tough because I don't think there are enough resources out there to really portray a picture of what mining is like. I'll be honest, even the mining engineering education I got at UBC, once I got to the job, it was a lot different than what I thought I learned in school. So you only really learn about it by actually getting into a mine and working there. But I think there's some online resources that are coming out now with sort of simulations of mining. There's some interviews and videos of people working underground. I guess just explore all avenues and look for some of these videos to look at. But as well as like if you're interested in mining, try and get a hold of somebody who works in the industry and just pick their brain on their experience and ask them as many questions as you need to if you have any doubt about whether or not mining is the right industry for you.
Yeah, cool. I find that for any students who are interested in learning more, LinkedIn is a great place to reach out. So looking.
Yeah, for sure. We all came from the UBC engineering community, right? So generally speaking, UBC engineers are always open to helping out other engineers, and we were all in the same boat once, where we're looking to decide the discipline that we wanted to study, and we know how it is. And sometimes the decision can be difficult, but yeah, I think most engineers and UBC alumni are open to helping out.